Just
Hello there. Thank you for joining us for PCOS Conversations with Julie and Laura. I am Julie Duffy Dillon. I'm a registered dietitian that helps people with PCOS reject diets and feel more at home in their body. And Happy New Year, Laura.
hi, happy new year. I got the giggles apparently. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm Laura Burns, and I am a body liberation yoga teacher. I teach yoga and I run courses and host events about body liberation and fat acceptance and I don't know, the work, all the stuff that's involved in that. And I just want people to honor and respect their bodies. And so anything I can do to help that, that's what
You're the person for it.
I feel like a used car salesman.
Yeah, you got that vibe, that like no, you don't. So first up is always the card pull, right? So
Yeah.
So if you are new, welcome. And we have a mini card deck, and I'm gonna try to show it. Oh, there it is.
Oh, it
So,
actually,
so these are some cards that Laura and I put together, and it's just the mini version. We'll have a full deck eventually of some important kind of prompts and sayings and things that we hope that just help you to, I don't know, help your brain to focus on something outside of diet culture or to repair from it and heal from it. So we like to go through one and just talk about it. So I'm going to pick one.
we need like card picking music.
Yeah, when we get to that 1 million subscriber mark, maybe we can. Because we have 100.
Card below. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So last video, I said, subscribe if you want to see more because we're trying to hit 100. And you did. And
Yeah,
we did.
thank you.
So we're at 105 subscribers.
That's awesome.
So we got a long way to go till we get our theme music.
Yeah, but we can do it. Let's manifest it, as those people say. This card, I always think we've done it before, but we may not have. But it's a really wonderful one for International Dieting Month. January. Gross is how you said. Because when I think about International Dieting Month, it's like eat less. There's less of you. You can't enjoy yourself. So this one is your body deserves pleasure, abundance, and comfort.
Oh, fuck yeah, it does.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to get this. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Pleasure.
It's backwards anyway, right? Okay, you don't see it backwards. Cool. So.
Pleasure, abundance, and comfort. Oh my God, those are like a balm.
That's a wonderful, metaphor.
Yeah, like things that we are not allowed to have, or that I was not allowed to have growing up because I was in a fat body.
I'm writing that word down. Balm.
Abundance and comfort. Oh my God, I have so many.
And pleasure. Pleasure, for fuck's sake, pleasure.
Man, we were just talking about this in my pod. So in the PCOS Body Liberation community, we have pods, which are smaller, more intimate groups within the larger community, where we like really dig into stuff, and it's like a really nice friendship. Anyway, we were talking about like food and pleasure and deserving those things, and how a lot of us felt like we did not deserve that growing up, or even still now feel like that. It feels like a radical act to say that, like, I deserve pleasure. I deserve pleasure from food. I deserve pleasure from textiles and scents and touch, and my own touch, someone else's touch. Like, like just that I deserve pleasure.
Yeah. Something I think about with that part is like pleasure and embodiment. Like, to experience that pleasure means like being
able to
in your body, and if someone feels like they don't deserve pleasure, then it's like one less reason to be there. In that sense. So that's such a big part, I know, of like what we talk about is like, like every human deserves pleasure. That's a part of like,
you don't have to earn. Yeah, you don't have to earn.
Yeah, no, you're alive. It's earned. Is that Houston sun hitting you?
It's like
Uh,
Man,
what do you think about abundance and comfort?
oh man. So
Abundance.
I
Oh,
could I feel like we could talk about this whole time about just this card. So abundance, like always feeling like I'm physically too much, like my needs or my wants were too much,
mhm.
right? Like I'm already overly abundant, so I don't deserve abundance in other ways. I don't deserve an abundance of food or praise or pleasure, like any of those things. Like like when you are in a larger body or when you are in a body that people feel is too much, um, you know, kind of what you get told is to restrict, to limit, to be less,
Yeah.
to take in less, to want less.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think about too, like the opposite of that of like scarcity and so much of the research around our relationship with food basically connects like that feeling, which someone listening, I wonder if they've ever called themselves like a food addict or just felt like I can never stop eating certain foods. And if I have an abundance, then what's going to happen? Like I can't trust myself. And that actual experience of not having enough is what creates that feeling of not being able to stop. And going through that process of repairing that unconditional permission for abundance of not only food, but just abundance. And um, and how that can actually change how you would, like a lot of people I've worked with, they'll say I don't label myself as a food addict anymore because it wasn't about me being addicted to food, it was that I was told I couldn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yes. And you know what's interesting? So people talk about food insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people, that means like growing up not knowing like what are we gonna have for dinner? Is it gonna be a good dinner? Is there gonna be dinner at all?
Right.
Not knowing like where your next meal is gonna come from, not knowing if you're gonna have enough food for everyone to eat to satisfaction. And that wasn't the case for me growing up. And so I never considered food insecurity an issue for me
Mm-hmm.
until like honestly, like pretty recently, the last few years, where somebody talked about food insecurity in terms of dieting.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, well, I've been food insecure since I was like 6 years old.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like then it really helped me to examine my relationship with food and my both craving for and fear of abundance with food.
Mm-hmm. That
And
sounds like a lot. That sounds exhausting.
yeah, yeah. So that was really helpful. So I don't know if that's helpful for anyone
Mm-hmm.
to hear that. It was really impactful when I heard somebody talk about that. So just throwing it out there in case,
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that comes to mind for me is Ellen Satter is a dietitian and therapist who came up with this like hierarchy of needs as it relates to food. And I feel like we've talked about it before, but maybe it's one of those things I talk about a lot. But some people have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the bottom of it is like, oxygen and basically having your basic human needs. And then as you move up, it's things like relationships and
yeah,
um, self-esteem and our relationship with food has a similar kind of food hierarchy based on Ellen Satter's kind of food hierarchy of needs, and the bottom of it is food security. And again, a lot of people think about poverty or living in a place where you just don't have access to enough food because of financial access, but the body doesn't know if it's because of not having enough money coming in or because of neglectful parenting or because of dieting. It doesn't know. So it's like it causes the same experience, and that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I must be addicted to food really is.
you're not addicted, you're hungry.
Well, it's like saying you're addicted to oxygen or
Yeah,
sleep or water. Like those are just basic. Like there's 5 basic needs for humans, and food is one of them. So you can't be addicted to something that you need to stay alive.
yeah, you're addicted to feeling secure.
Yeah. How
You don't.
dare you?
Hey, I just made a note for us to put the link to that hierarchy list
Oh
from
yeah.
in
I'll put it
the
next to the bomb.
and then comfort. So just to finish up the card,
Yeah.
before I know we could go off on a whole thing.
That's
So
just our
comfort,
day.
I think that comfort is really an interesting one because it goes along with all the other stuff that we were talking about, but also like, I don't know about you or anyone who's watching this, but I know that for me, when I did not appreciate or value my body or myself, like I didn't feel like I deserved to have pleasure, to have abundance, or to feel comfort, to seek comfort in ways that were like healthy and productive. And that means healthy and productive can mean very different things to very different people. I will let you decide what that means for you. And it's just like this, it just like it goes to speak to the like intense, like I don't know, like not being embodied, not feeling in your body, not even maybe realizing that you don't seek out comfort. I don't know if I'm being very articulate about this, but I definitely know that for me, I didn't even try to like make things nicer for myself in a lot of I didn't even think, it wasn't like, oh, I don't deserve this, like consciously. It was just like, my brain didn't even go there. And also I want to just say, and I don't know if I've talked about this in our videos before, but it's a real documented thing that medical professionals and the public in general views fat bodies as less susceptible to discomfort. And Black bodies,
Sure. Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
that they don't feel pain the same way, and it's true for fat people also. And so then if you're a fat Black person, it's even worse. Like it's like, you're not even a human being.
Humanized. Yeah.
And so so I just wanted, that always comes up for me when I think about comfort, because I think about all the times in my life where people treated me roughly, as if I didn't deserve comfort, like even like at the doctor's office and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
as a healthcare provider, I've seen that too. I've seen like
normalize that,
just like making certain patients wait longer. I can specifically remember that, making higher weight patients wait longer for care.
Yeah, or just like physically being rougher,
yeah, yeah, and I think the world too is like just as like it's like a blanket statement of like, yeah, we're not going to make room for you. I think about the times I was
that's such a
called, like I was called into like at meetings having inaccessible seating, and some of my higher weight colleagues saying, it took me a long time to come and tell you this, but I've sat in these seats and just felt uncomfortable
and had bruises.
I had to.
Yeah, I've had bruises from
that's exactly
shove myself into seating that's not accessible for my body.
So yeah, no wonder that's like it's something about with diet culture, right? Like that's just another part of it.
Yeah, and it's like, you deserve it, right? You deserve.
You feel comfortable when you sit your body down. Yeah.
You deserve it for having a body that is too big. You deserve to be not comfortable. That's just like the overarching.
Yes, and those of us who can access a variety of seating, we also need to be aware that like we need to provide space for everybody, So anyway, oh my gosh, we do need to wrap it up. But
yeah, I know we could talk about
that's a big old can of worms.
Yes, I kind of want to add it to the box. Like
we can add it. It's our show. We get to do what we want.
What should I call it? What should I call it?
Well, you call it whatever you want. But I know as you're adding it, I know we didn't have a specific question to answer this time. But if you do have a question as Laura and I are talking about what we were talking about with this card pull or anything today, put it below and we can answer it at our next recording.
Yeah. Okay, I'm putting it in the box.
What do you label it as?
I just put pleasure, abundance, and comfort.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, it's a different color. These are pink.
So you'll know.
I always do a blend. So speaking of the box, we're going to shift gears and talk about topic, but I'm shaking this box, but we're actually going to go off script today and not pull from the box because we want to talk about something that is very relevant this time of year.
It's in the box anyway. We thought about rigging it, but
it's probably in this box, right? Yeah.
it is in the box. Yeah.
Oh, it is in the box.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk about diet culture and dieting and all the stuff that goes along with that because it's early January. Julie keeps calling it International Dieting Month. Like, every time.
Call it National Dieting Month, but now it's international.
Oh, international. It's
gone global.
It's gone global. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh gosh, where do you start with it? Especially with PCOS, it's something that is expected all the time. Do you have your hand raised?
Yes.
Hi. Yes, Laura Burns. What would you like to say?
I like to start. You often ask this question, and every time you do, it is like a gut punch to me. But
you want me to punch you?
I don't want you to not ask anymore. But Julie often asks the question, "How old were you when you were put on your first diet?" And it's like,
how old are you?
Punch, like very young, like 6 or 7, I would. And whenever she asks this, so many people respond. It really strikes a chord. I mean, it really hits people. Like, I think a lot of people are getting gut punched by this question. And there's a lot of 6, 7, 9, 11, 8, these young ages. And it is so sad to me.
So sad.
It's so sad because I know, I'm like, oh, I know what you went through. We didn't have the same experience, but listen, I feel you because I lived through that and it was not great, but it felt normal. And so this is where I wanted to go with this. We were just talking in the group today, I think, in the group, because we were talking about this, about how old you were and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, it felt really normal.
We told the diet.
Yeah. So of course I'm going to go to Weight Watchers with my mom. And I also want to say, I don't blame my mom or my family or whatever that they were doing what was probably told to them, maybe by a doctor, that was what was best, do this. So, I'm not mad about that. I mean, I'm mad that it happened. I wish that it hadn't, but
I don't think they thought was best.
Yeah, at that point, I would have done the same thing to my daughter. You know,
I was a dietitian that helped kids in that age group to lose weight.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that it was so normal and that I knew other little girls who were also being taken to Weight Watchers meetings, with adults, full on the circle of chairs. Everyone is a adult woman.
And then there's this random kid.
Yeah, but I wasn't the only kid. That's the thing.
You weren't.
Yeah, and so it's so normal. It was so normalized, but and clearly so many of us have that same experience. But it was really harmful.
Oh, it's so harmful. So this is the thing. There's 2 different groups that I notice is the big areas where people first start. And 6 or 7 is one of them. And when we're around the age of 6, we go through something as humans called adiposity rebound, which is the time where our body basically needs to add a lot more fat as it prepares for a growth spurt. It is always around that time. And the thing that I always notice is when kids start kindergarten and then how they finish kindergarten, they often look different. There's a growth spurt. Yeah, and so in our culture now, it freaks pediatricians out, it freaks parents out, but they forget this is just how the human body goes through development. And at the age of 7 is a really important year for body image because that's when we realize oh, we are something separate. I have this body. That's when we developmentally just start to understand that. And so it's crushing for my heart to think about that's the time where people learn there needs to be less of you. Your body's wrong, And then the other time, 11, 12, that early puberty time is the other time where I hear a lot of people being, dragged to Weight Watchers. And that's a time where, of course, our body goes through so many changes. And it's on average, I think in the 4 years of puberty, it's like around 40 to 60 pounds is like I didn't even offer like a content warning of pounds, but I'm hoping it's more informative and like that's just like how our body was supposed to change. And everybody, like, and of course those are all averages, but like every human body goes through it differently. And also like there's a side of me who's like, I don't care why a person's weight changes. Like they like dieting is not a solution. Like there's nothing wrong with their body. And like keeping in mind, like it's like diet culture is fighting like typical human development.
Yeah, but biology.
It's like fucking with your biology.
Yeah.
And even if it had nothing to do with it, I just want to say that too. I think it's really important for me to say, like, I don't care why a person gains weight. Like, even if it's like way more, twice, 3 times, 4 times as much, whatever. I still don't think you should have been taken to Weight Watchers. But anyway, yeah, that's something that I think is just really important in that process. And when I asked that question though, like when you started your first diet, the reason why I like to do that is because I hear people say like, well, I want to give dieting one more try. You
have tried a
yes,
lot.
you have data.
Yeah, that's worked.
Yes, and like the diet industry, I heard something recently that it was like a $90 billion industry in the United States alone every year, which I don't know if that's exactly right, but I heard that recently.
Yeah, I've similar numbers.
They are like seductive as fuck. Like
because they're investing in you staying plugged in. If you stop buying their stuff, they stop making those billions of dollars. It's capitalism.
It is. And it's so like thinking about that person back then, like
Ugh.
What if like there was something different then, or what did she need back then? And what does she need now? So
yeah. Well, let's bring it then to adulthood, because
okay.
we're adults now. And so thinking about how diet culture manifests itself, especially this time of year, but all the time, and people like your friends, your family, your medical professionals, your colleagues, everyone is invested in diet culture and maintaining this because they have bought the whatever, they bought the messaging, right? They believe
they're swimming in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so how does somebody who maybe you're newer to rejecting diets, how do you make that switch? How do you start to swim against,
right. Wouldn't it be nice if it was just a switch? Because I think
I'm just gonna flip the switch down.
Yeah, well, I think it would be like that if we weren't swimming in it all the time. Yeah, I think it would be more like a switch. Like information would be enough to be like, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not like that.
Because we're constantly swimming, and I always talk about, I feel like it's so annoying. I always say the same thing about how we're like the salmon and we're swimming up the stream, and the water is diet culture and capitalism and white supremacy and all these things, and it never stops. So we can never stop. And sometimes people are like, that's really depressing, Laura. But I would rather be realistic.
Yeah.
The infrastructure within myself to be able to keep swimming. And over time, let me tell you, it becomes easier. You don't have to use as much energy to keep swimming as you do when you first start. When you first start, it's like, like new things. It's like, it's hard. You got to figure it out. You got to see what works for you. You got to make changes in your life.
There's a lot to unpack and unravel.
But it gets better. It gets easier. And then it's like kind of maintenance mode swimming.
Oh, you get a momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
This never falters. This doesn't lessen. It just keeps coming. And in fact, it kind of intensifies as you get stronger. It gets stronger because they want to take you down, and people are going to push back. So I just want to say, like, I don't know, whoever's watching this, like wherever you are in your journey, I hate always like everything's a journey. Your journey to move away from diet culture and dieting, wherever you are, just know that it's always hardest at first, but you learn the tools, right? And so maybe we could just like briefly talk about some things that are helpful.
Yeah.
Is that good? We have a little time left.
Yeah, and something that I think about with all that, like, like how to do it. If you are newer to rejecting diets, something that the last 20 years has taught me is that when people push back on you about rejecting diets, it ends up being really predictable on what they'll say. And so that's the part that I don't know if that means it's easier, if that helps with the momentum, but that's something that experience will allow you to have. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's like a total Rolodex now in my brain. And also, just acknowledging that I have been privileged, so I'm not experiencing the oppression from it. But like, I remember Deb Borgard, a psychotherapist out of California, that's one thing that she taught me was that eventually you'll just know what they're going to ask you or what research they're going to quote. And you're just going to know how to answer it because you've heard it. There's only so many
Yeah.
pushbacks. And, like eventually it won't be scary anymore.
Yeah. And like also for me, what has been really empowering is knowing that I don't have to push back. I don't have to respond.
Mm-hmm.
I used to feel like I had to like know the study and I could tell you numbers, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember the numbers anymore. I don't remember these specific studies because you know what? I don't owe you an explanation. But
Yeah.
that took a really long time to get to that point. And so I fully recognize that. But yeah, like, it's so predictable the things that people will say when you talk about not dieting. And so it does actually get like reasonably easy to say, well, blah, blah, blah. And you have like some answers that are kind of like, you know how like people have like elevator speech,
Yeah,
pitch
yeah, for sure.
a little like, okay, this is what I say when people say, I'm just concerned about your health. And you say, like it's.
So a handy one to keep in mind that also Deborah Gard always says is show me the data. Because that's one of the things that she taught us um, is that she's basically said like people who are rejecting diets are getting the brunt of like, show me the research why we should not accept dieting. And she's like, no, you need to show me why dieting works.
Yeah. And
Show me
also
the data.
everyone becomes a scientist all of a sudden.
Yes.
Everyone becomes a nutritionist and a scientist and a doctor. Everyone all of a sudden is like qualified to
Right.
ask questions and to comment on what you choose to eat or how you choose to move or whatever it is that they have a problem with. And just remember, like that's your sister. What does she do? Oh, she's a teacher. Cool. She's not qualified at all, like to ask these questions. And so I love that. Show me the data.
Show me the data. Yeah, just show like put the burden back. And I know you said too, like how can people start to move forward? Like how do they like reverse and start going against stream? And I think about that process as almost like it's not a linear. I wish it was.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm always thinking about like how is this like how does food peace happen? And I think of it almost like I'm thinking of like braiding or weaving or threads kind of coming together and getting stronger over time. And part of that process, oftentimes for a lot of people, is like acknowledging when did I start dieting, like we said, acknowledging I have this data, and I don't want to torture myself anymore. And maybe not like loving or accepting of the body. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, that's when I'm ready to reject diets is when I love my body.
good luck.
I'm like,
Good luck loving your body if you haven't rejected diets. I mean, honestly.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So I would like to speak to that because
Yeah.
a lot of people, I'm in like the body love, body positive world. But I think that it is a misconception or a misnomer that you have to love your body,
Yeah.
period, or all the time. So, because people are always like, well, I don't love my body at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that makes me sad, but I get it because I also was like that a long time. And what I would say is you don't have to love your body. You can work on honoring your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or finding some respect for your body.
That's the word I use a lot is respect. And
Yeah.
just like
honor and respect and self.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I often think about too, like what I would see a lot of people doing as they're like connecting to like what is that respect, like defining it for themselves. Often then it's connecting to like this anger and grief of like I was duped, like I was seduced by something that doesn't work, and so like let yourself get fucking mad
Yeah.
And as much as you can connect with that. And
I really, oh, sorry, I just
go
cut
ahead,
you off.
go ahead.
I really love like to talk about being given the wrong tools, and
Yeah.
that's in a PCOS context, but I think that it applies to just life in general.
Yeah.
We were given the wrong tools of self-respect and self-love
Yeah.
because we were given dieting and comparison and what all those things, right? We weren't given self-compassion and respect and critical thinking and like actual science. And so I love the idea of acknowledging that we were given the wrong tools. It's not our fault. We didn't do this to ourselves. It's not our fault for being like this. It's not our fault for believing this thing. And then I love that, like, for me from there, it's like, let me be mad about it. That's why I love what you're
Yeah.
like, let me grieve
Mhm.
25, 26 years that I spent hating myself and buying into diet culture. Let me grieve that time, the childhood of eating candy and sweets and stuff that I missed out on, or that I ate them and then felt really guilty.
Yeah.
Like, let me grieve those things. Let me be pissed about it, and then let me say, I don't want to live like that anymore.
Yeah. And like that can take a long time to like sit with. And I would say even people who are in a place who have been rejecting diets for decades will find themselves. That's why I almost think of it as more like threads kind of together. Cause like there's times where that needs to be like time spent sitting in that again. Because again, we're always living in diet culture.
We're always swimming
If
again.
we had that switch, it'd be easier. We would all have that.
And so kind of the second half of the point that I wanted to make is like, you don't have to aim for love and you don't have to aim for 100% of the time. And I think that, Instagram and social media gives us this picture of like body positive influencers who like love their body and they're always out there like living their life, wearing a crop top and like being happy and like all this shit. And like, that's Instagram, that's not real life. And like, as a person on Instagram, like who's like in the body positive world,
In a crop top.
in a crop top and all the things, right? Like, it's true a lot of the time, but it's also not true sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that nobody is in that space 100% of the time, and that it's doing ourselves a disservice to aim for that.
Yeah.
Or it's doing yourself a disservice to aim for love if you're not ready for that.
Yeah.
Like moving from like actively hating and disliking and working against your body to like trying to honor that it exists and you're alive and you're breathing and that it's working for you. Like that's, to me, like that shift, first of all, can take a really long time. Like this could be but also like that's the most important shift, because once you do that, like building that other stuff, like it'll happen. But like from this to this, that's the hardest one. And I wanted to share, I don't know if I've shared this in these videos before, I always share this quote. So when I first got back into yoga, after thinking yoga was awful and terrible and for thin rich white women, I found these yoga DVDs from Abby Lentz, who created Heavyweight Yoga. And one of her DVDs, she had a portion where it was like yoga from your bed. For whatever reason you might want to do yoga from bed, whether you are not able to leave your bed or whether you just want to do it on your bed. She talked about like not having faith in your body and not having that good relationship with your body. And she said something that has been so impactful for me. And so I always try to say this whenever it comes up or like feels applicable. But she said, your lungs are still breathing and your heart is still beating. Your body hasn't given up on you. So don't give up on your body. And that has stuck with me so much. I call on that. I'm gonna cry. It's not a video if Laura doesn't cry. I call on that all the time because I have multiple chronic illnesses and like my body doesn't work the way that it used to. And sometimes it feels really hard. And I'm fat. I'm the fattest that I've ever been, but I'm also like in the best like place that I've ever been in my life, where my body is kind of in the worst place, like health wise, like with the chronic illnesses and stuff. But like I'm actually doing really great. But like sometimes on like days when flares are happening and I feel like garbage and I'm just like, oh, I just wish, you would just work better. And I remember that. And I remember that, like, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still
Yeah.
alive. My body is working so hard for me. And like, I don't want to be mean to it. It's working so hard. And I, can find gratitude in the fact that I'm breathing, my heart is beating, that I can move, that I can touch and feel and be hugged and hug and, all those things. And so I just want to share that in case that resonates with anyone. If you find yourself having, trouble finding any kind of gratitude for your body or any kind of respect or honor for your body, like sometimes you have to break it down to the basics, the bare minimum, right? Like you're alive. You could not be alive right now, but you're here.
You're here. Yeah.
You're here, like, oh, that really helps me. And sometimes that's what it comes down to,
Yeah. Yeah, because dieting and diet culture and the speed that they expect us to like fix whatever is it's making it's kind of provoking this place of like your body is needs to be fixed, it's broken, so get on it. Even like intuitive eating and people moving away from diet culture, there's like, let's hurry up and do it, and if you do it right you'll eat less and you'll weigh less, and like,
intuitive eating is not a diet.
I know with that, I mean, and then honestly the first edition of intuitive eating, it was about losing weight, and in the early 90s when they first published it. But people evolve and we've learned, and the people who the fourth edition is like the newest one, is much more aligned with like how you and I are talking. But yeah, like intuitive eating is like living in a diet culture, and a lot of people will come to me and be like, Julie, I want to do intuitive eating work. I'm ready to eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, and do this gentle nutrition thing, like, eat a balance of food. Can we do that? And I'm like, there's so much work before like we connect with hunger and fullness. And that's like a smidge of it. Like, so if there's one thing.
It took me years.
Years. I mean, that's normal, is years. And so if there's anything for someone listening, if you're interested in moving away from diets from the first time, I wish we had a magic wand to just be like, give you as much time as you need and permission for that time to heal, and whatever that looks like. And it may be remembering that your heart's still beating and putting your hand on your heart. And one of my supervisors, Deborah Benfield, that's what she always talks about, is like putting your hand on your heart. And if you're feeling like disembodied and struggling with that, like just feeling that and like letting that be your work for right now, just connecting with it. So
yeah, the mindfulness embodiment practice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I think this could be another semester class we could teach at some university. We're for hire, so that'd be such a fun class. But I think we need to wrap it up.
Oh yeah, we went long today.
But you know what? We needed it.
A lot of stuff to say.
And we can keep talking. So anyway, okay.
Well,
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so let's say the things. Thank you for being here. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more from us. Help us get that theme song.
Yes.
And come find us over on Instagram. We're at PCOS Body Liberation, and our website is PCOS Body Liberation. You can find more information about the community that we host there. And if you're looking for a place to be with other people with PCOS and find resources and support and community and connection, check that out. It has been like literally life-changing for me.
Well, and yeah, if you're swimming against the stream, it's a lot easier with other people.
Yeah, you can all band together and swim together.
Yeah, you can make a raft. Like, yeah, just like go together somehow. That's the way to do it. Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
Yes. Oh, and we can't see our things. It's too bright again. Cheers, Laura. Cheers to PCOS Body Liberation.
Cheers. Thanks for being here.
Bye.